All right, I am live. This is the first time I'm live in a while. So here's what's going to happen. Nobody is watching yet. Nobody's on the chat. But I'm going to do a vlog like I would normally do, except live, and then answer questions, whatever. And you might listen to this as if it's a podcast. You might listen to this or watch this video, whatever. And then if people want to join, then people can join, and that's great. There's one that's joined now, which is fantastic. But this is how I'm going to do things. And today's topic, today's vlog, today, what I'm just going to kind of talk about and rant about, if you will, is being vulnerable, is vulnerability, because it seems to be the theme of my life currently. And so that's what's been on my mind, and that's why I want to talk about it. Years ago, when I was at school, the ministry school that I went to, something that was a saying that was kind of thrown around a lot that I picked up, and it's a principle that is used. It's a principle that I find is accurate. I believe it to be true because I've lived it out, and I think that it is true. Is that vulnerability creates freedom. Now, vulnerability is also, it's not for the faint of heart. You know, it's really easy to talk about being vulnerable, which if you've watched me and seen me on this channel before, then you know that I've talked about being vulnerable several times. I've been vulnerable on the YouTube channel, but it's really easy to be vulnerable to strangers, the strangers, people that you see on the internet, right? Super easy to be vulnerable with people that you see on the internet. And so, but it's difficult to be vulnerable with, say, a someone that you value very, very, very much, like a family member or someone that you're in close relationship with, a lover, a friend, a best friend, because there's that fear there that what if you're misunderstood? What if you're not accepted? What if they don't hear me out? What if I am going to open myself up and it's not going to be met with love? And that is what has been going on in my life so much recently. And fear's a funny thing. It's a funny thing because fear is one of those things where I'm learning it has this double, it's this negative feedback loop. It's this double negative. It's just this weird thing where, take for example, the fear of rejection. With the fear of rejection, somebody who has the fear of rejection is never going to put themselves in a situation to even be rejected. uh and that's just it's a weird thing. Or like, say, the fear of being misunderstood. Somebody might not ever, it's a fear because it's a fear that they have, but they might not know that they have it, because they might not ever speak up to be misunderstood because they're so used to being misunderstood. And so they have this fear of being misunderstood, that when they speak up, when they talk, when whatever, that they're going to be misunderstood. And the irony of it is that since they don't talk, since they don't open up, is that they're always misunderstood, because they're always going to feel misunderstood because of that fear. Rather than getting over that fear, rather than being vulnerable and saying, okay, I may not be misunderstood, but there's a chance that I will, so I'm going to be vulnerable and open up. And surprisingly enough, there are people, like, you're not alone. And I have to remind myself of this all the time, that I'm not alone. Like, obviously nobody is alone. Like, there's so many people that are going through so many struggles, and nobody is really alone in their struggle, even though they feel alone. And that's, I think I fall into that trap quite a lot, quite a bit. And it's an annoying trap to get stuck in. That yeah, yeah. So, interesting point. Thank you, missed you too, man. But yeah, fear is this weird negative feedback loop. And so if you open up, if you are vulnerable, which it's terrifying. Like, listen, it seems easy. like to talk about it. Like, oh yeah, as soon as you talk about it, of course, you're gonna be understood. As soon as you talk about it, like, of course, you're gonna be met with love. But you don't know that. You don't know that when you're in it, when you're doing it. Um, so let me loop back around to this vulnerability creating freedom, because that's really what it is. Once you get over that fear, once you let go of that fear and you decide to be vulnerable, then you experience freedom most of the time. And I say most of the time because there is always, you don't want to throw, let me just say this. You don't want to throw your pearls before swine. Obviously, that's a Bible verse, but you don't want to be vulnerable to somebody that you know will not value what you're saying. Now, the way that you can tell if they are going to value what they're saying, where ask yourself, have they been there with me before? Do I trust them? Are they consistently in my life? Like, have they loved me in the past? Have they loved me before? So why wouldn't they meet me with love now? So if you can answer yes to those questions, then it's time to get over that fear and time to be vulnerable. But when you are vulnerable, what are you being free from? Really, free from the fear of being alone. The fear of being alone is another one of those weird negative feedback loops, almost kind of thing, because you're so scared to be alone that you create your aloneness, like that energy that you have of I'm so terrified of being alone. You end up not opening up to anybody because you're afraid of rejection and being, I think the fear of alone is the bottom line fear. Like every fear can almost, I think every fear can almost be traced back to you have a fear of being alone. um but when you're vulnerable and you open up, which is not easy, it's not for the weak, it's not for the faint of heart, then you overcome that fear of being alone, because often 9 out of 10 times, granted, you're not throwing your pearls before swine, um, you're going to be met with love. You're going to be met with somebody that's saying, you know what, even if I don't understand you, I'm with you and I cherish your thoughts and opinions and feelings. And I'm with you till the end. And so it's like more often than not, we open up and we have this fear of being alone, or we have this fear of being us misunderstood, and we open up, and then vulnerability creates that freedom of that fear, and it opens yourself up to being loved. So I would say that's the first thing. And free from it, vulnerability frees you from your anxious thoughts. So obviously, if you're just stuck in chaos all the time and your thoughts are just all over the place, right? Then there's really in your thoughts, like if you never speak, if you never speak your mind, if you never speak your truth, if you never speak your opinion, none of it, it's always chaos in here all the time, always chaos all the time. And like it is the purest form of chaos that's just stuck in your head. And so when you get that out, it creates some sort of order to what's in your head, to the chaos that's been in your head. Um, and so when you're vulnerable, which again isn't easy, and taken for, considering that option that you're not going to throw your pearls before swine, you're opening up to somebody who you know that they're going to, or you have this hope at least that they're going to value what you're saying. Again, it's being vulnerable. It's not easy. It's not easy because there's so many, things that could there are things that could go wrong, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And it's worth it because you get these thoughts out, right? Because you get these anxious thoughts out. But I'm saying getting these anxious thoughts out, getting this chaos inside your head out creates some sort of order and some sort of something. And even if it comes out in chaos, at least it's spoken and at least it's in reality. And I know for me that when I speak something, and when I get those anxious thoughts out, whether it's journaling or whether it's talking to my best friend or somebody, when I speak and get those anxious thoughts out, um, it, even if it looks like even more chaos that's written on the page, or it looks like even more chaos that has been spewed all over, like I just feel misunderstood because they're not hearing what I'm saying. I know that once I say it initially, that I can piece it back together. I can dialogue about it. And that dialogue is going to help me create order that's was in so much chaos. That thought, whatever I was thinking, whatever I wanted to open up about, was in so much chaos that when I spoke it, when I journaled it, when I did something, that something came out, and then it created the opportunity for me to put it all into order, put it all into, categorize it and make a plan and have an action plan and whatever. But when it's in your head, it's just pure chaos. So being vulnerable and getting that shit out of your head is just going to free you from all of those anxious thoughts. Now, and also, see, I've been bringing this up and I'm writing this in my notes, but I've been bringing this up is free from the fear of being misunderstood. So, yeah, I think here's okay. This is my obviously all of this is my opinion, right? But when you open up, there is always that chance that you're going to be misunderstood. I would say 8 out of 10 times, probably 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be surprised at the response because they're going to tell you that they do understand. And if they don't understand, if you're not throwing your pearls before swine, then they will want to understand, which will help you not feel alone because then you're in dialogue with somebody who's like, now I'm going to do this together with you. Um, and you're not alone. And then you're creating space to be understood. So besides vulnerability, helping you get free from pure chaos in your head, it will make you stronger. That is in my notes. It will definitely make you stronger. So yeah, and then I mean, I'm just looking at my the notes on my phone, and I'm pretty much done with saying what I wanted to say. But the last little bit is about vulnerability creating. It's like lifting emotional weights. I mean, let's just be honest. Like, it's not easy to open up about something that's been weighing on your mind because you're afraid really, what it is you're afraid of hurting that person. You're afraid of hurting that individual. You're afraid of hurting somebody that you love. You don't wanna hurt them, so you don't wanna be vulnerable, or you don't wanna be a burden. Um, you feel like the weight is on your shoulders and you can't take it off of your shoulders. All of this, all of them are causes to be vulnerable, like reasons why you should be vulnerable and get all of that stuff out. And that's not like it's not easy. We can talk about it all day, but then it's like, okay, yeah, I can open up about my life, no problem, I can absolutely do that. But will you open up about the broken areas of your life that you are currently feeling right now? Like the broken things, the broken pieces of your heart, of your mind that you're terrified to tell people about. Will you open up about that? And will you let love in? Will you open that door and let love in? And not an easy thing to do. And it sucks to do. Um, and it's like lifting emotional weights. But here is my opinion of why it's not for the weak, why it's not for the weak-minded. I think I'm just going to read exactly what I put on my note here. If you think about it, the ones who refuse to be vulnerable. This is a power. It's a bold statement. I'll say that it's a bold statement. If you think about it, the ones who refuse to be vulnerable are cowards. Being vulnerable, being able to speak when in fear, intense fear, is holding you back is a very, very, very brave and courageous thing to do. Um, it makes you strong. It makes you courageous. You're not weak in the least bit. It's the ones who hold it all in that are cowards. And I say that because my mindset is at a point of I want to call it raising my frequency, to put it very new agey. Call it, wanting to grow in unconditional love, not only for people but for myself. Um, you know, I want to learn how to be a better person for myself and for the world around me. And if I'm keeping all of this stuff in, it's not doing me any good, which isn't doing anybody else any good because if I can't build myself up, if I can't unconditionally love myself, then how am I going to be able to do that for anybody else? And so if I'm carrying the world on my shoulders, and if I'm carrying this huge weight that I can't invite people in and say, hey, am I the only one that's carrying this? Or like, can you help me carry it? Like, that's actually a brave thing to do. Like that's not for the faint of heart, because so many people will hold it in. So many people will have that weight on their shoulders, and everybody knows it. Everybody can see it, and everybody can tell like they have the weight on their shoulders. And oftentimes you'll come across as angry, you'll come across as bitter, you'll come across as like closed off. Like you won't all of it. You'll just come across as like this bitter individual that nobody wants to be a part of. And it's because they're not opening up. It's because they're not being vulnerable. It's because they're being cowards and they're ignoring everything that's going on inside, instead of like willingly wanting to open up and wanting to change for them and change for other people. And so that's a strong opinion that I have. Um, and I stand by it. I stand by it. So all that to say, it is completely worth it to be vulnerable. It's not for the weak of heart, but you will experience more freedom in being vulnerable than you ever did when you were just closed off and closed up. So that is those are all my thoughts. Got all that out in like 16 minutes, which is pretty sweet. Um, I don't see the chat moving a whole lot, which isn't, that's fine. I haven't done this in like 2 years, but this is how I'm going to start doing things again. Having these little, I guess these are kind of little podcasts, little live sessions, but hopefully once these pick up again, then I'll have enough people and we'll do some like Q&A. If anybody has any questions within the next 60 seconds, the few of you that are watching, love to answer them. But if not, um, then I'm going to end it. So before I end it, just going to say again, being vulnerable, the principle in all of this, the principle being vulnerability creates freedom. If you want to take anything away from this live session, it's that vulnerability creates freedom. And being vulnerable is not an easy thing, and it's not for the faint of heart. And so when you are vulnerable, it means you're a fighter. It means you're a warrior. It means you're strong. It means you're courageous. Got that one out. It doesn't mean you're weak. And I know for me, it's been really difficult in the past, because when I've had to be vulnerable about things that I beat myself up over, that I'm like, man, this feels like I'm being emasculated because, I'm a man and I should be able to carry this on my shoulders. I should be able to just like shove this off and like, oh no, it's not big. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. It's a big deal because it's a big deal to me. And like I said, people can tell that I'm carrying this weight on my shoulders. And so I might as well just talk about it to get it off. And if there's people in my life that don't want to hear me talk about it, then I don't need those people in my life. And so it's a real eye opener. And really, if I'm vulnerable about it, and I choose to be vulnerable about it, then I'm also creating eyes for me to see who can be in my life, who should be in my life, and who shouldn't be in my life. So, and that's a really hard thing to do. It's not an easy task to speak the truth, but it's a necessary task for yourself and for the world around you. And I think that all starts with just this the concept of being vulnerable, and that being vulnerable will create freedom. And the ones who aren't vulnerable, cowards. It's a strong opinion. It's a strong opinion. I understand that. I get it. And if you missed all of that, then watch this, watch it all again. What's up, bro? Been waiting for this moment. Yeah, same. And I'm about to end the live because we don't have a whole lot of people engaging. So if you are watching this post live session, I will try to come up with a schedule to do this more. And it's kind of like a podcast, it's a vlog, it's a video, it's a live session, it's kind of it all in one, but I'm liking it because it's a lot less work for me. um, but yeah, I'll try to get a set schedule for this. And so if you're watching this, please join the next live session. Follow me on Instagram, or just keep an eye on the community here, the my community page here on YouTube, so that you can be a part of these live sessions, and then we can get more Q&A happening. And that'd be super awesome. So that is this live session. Thank you to everyone who joined. There's 77 of you watching now. It's super awesome. Didn't know how many people would show. But yeah, this is gonna be a weekly thing of me doing lives and vlogs and bringing up a topic. So hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you're watching this later on, y'all are amazing. And yeah, subscribe, do all that. I'm usually editing the video right now, but I'm live, so it's not going to be super smooth, but it's going to be super real. So, all right, love you all. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.